Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host Ahmed Nawaz with the latest roundup of sports today. Let's take a look at what we're discussing and then we take things further. A lot of cricket now is on offer, so we will be continuing with all there is. We'll introduce you to a very special guest at the same time as well. But there's a lot to talk about when we talk about Pakistan cricket, and I think a lot is happening at the same time in immense as well. Be it the scheduling, be it the Champions Trophy. There are a lot of things on the cards. But West Indies tour to Pakistan is Pakistan's first assignment with 2 Test matches at the Multan Cricket Stadium, and it's going to be very interesting. If you look at this West Indies squad itself as well, it's a very, very pertinent squad that we have to talk about as well. And then I think at the same time, you also need to consider that Pakistan's campaign in Test cricket has been a very particular one. So we'll talk about that in detail. And then, of course, we talk about how Pakistan will be scheduling this Test series in a manner where players can be smartly picked as well, not to get them overburdened with the amount of cricket that is coming up as well. Then we move on, we discuss the tri-series in detail as well. We give you all the updates. Pakistan versus South Africa versus New Zealand. The venue now has been shifted to Lahore and Karachi. Initially, they decided Multan's going to host the tri-series, but now both the venues for the Champions Trophy, so we're going to have a full dress rehearsal, look at the infrastructure, the pitches and everything, and the fans' perspective as well in this tri-series that takes place right before the Champions Trophy, so some necessary practice for all the 3 teams as well. Then we move on with the Pakistan Cricket Board has unveiled the new domestic season, the next one, of course, all the details regarding that as well. Then we move on and we discuss the Sark Snooker Championship, where 2 Pakistanis have made it to the quarterfinals as well, Naseem and also Mohammad Asif, who've been brilliant. They're going to face off in the quarterfinal. And then we move on to football, where we tell you that Newcastle have destroyed Arsenal 2-0 in the Carabao Cup, and elsewhere Liverpool's chances are also somewhat that we will be discussing in detail. That's on the show today. Time now to introduce the guests. First of all, in studios, we've been joined by cricket commentator, international broadcaster, presenter, and our sports expert K. Asif Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, sir?
Walaikum Assalam, Ahmed. I'm very well. Thank you very much.
We've also been joined by sports expert Malik Usman Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum, sir. How are you?
Walaikum Assalam, doing well.
Thank you very much for joining us. And of course, we'll now move towards a short break. When we come back, we discuss things in detail. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Sports Extra, and now of course we continue things in detail, but like I told you before the break, we're going to introduce you to a very special guest joining us today, somebody who's played cricket for Scotland, and of course he's had a good career. And now when you talk about cricket, obviously he's still involved. Once a cricketer, always a cricketer. I think things never change. So we're very pertinent about this as well, and we're going to be talking about it. And I was going through some certain things as well regarding the career, and it's very, very interesting when you mention that you move on to a fact that you of course debuted against Ireland, and then there are some specifics that we will be talking about on the show as well. But there's been a lot as well, and just recently Asif also had a chance to share a platform with him in Karachi in the KTPL as well. So of course it's very, very interesting that we talk to him as well. And like I said, that Cricket Scotland has produced many names, and the structure in cricket in Scotland has always inspired us as well. So we're going to be talking about that in detail, and I think it's very pertinent that we talk about the fact that a lot of these players from Scotland with their roots and background in Pakistan have been making a lot of contributions for cricket throughout the world as well, and especially when we talk about Pakistan. So we will be talking about this in detail, and we're very, very honored to be joined by this individual on show as well. And I think it's right that K. Asif, I let you do the introductions. I think that will be more special for us today.
Well, to be honest, that the way you are introducing him, it's brilliant, and he's such a fantastic gentleman. And I met him in Scotland, in Karachi, all the way from Scotland. He came there for the commentary in Karachi Table Premier League, and one of my good friends, the one and only Mr. Qasim Sheikh. Very warm welcome to you in our show, Qasim.
Absolutely. Assalamu alaikum, Qasim bhai. How are you? Welcome to Sports Extra.
Walaikum salam. Walaikum salam. First and foremost, thank you very much for the very kind words from both of you. Both introductions were really, really nice. I really appreciate it. And it's a pleasure to come and join you on your show today.
Well, of course, it's an honor for us to host you as well, Qasim. But first of all, I think we have to talk about the career trajectory. I mean, playing for Cricket Scotland, that career track as well. I think most of us, when we are young lads, we pick up a bat and a ball and decide we're going to fall in love with the sport. But how has your career trajectory been, for people who want to know, for our viewers, the way you found out that, I'm going to turn this love now into professional sports?
Well, first and foremost, my love and passion for cricket came from my roots in Pakistan. No doubt about that. I came for I'm born and bred Glasgow in Scotland. I came to Pakistan for an auntie's wedding when I was maybe 3 or 4 years old. And my uncle, Mataya, in Pakistan, he played a lot of cricket for MA College, Islam Sheikh, and he introduced me to a cricket bat. And that is where it all started. From there, I never looked back. I went back to Scotland. I played at a cricket club in Glasgow, quite a famous cricket club. India and Pakistan were actually due to play a match there many years ago now. Unfortunately, as it sometimes happens often in Scotland, the game was rained off. But my cricket club, Clydesdale Cricket Club, then was where I started to work on my cricketing skills. Then around the age of 12 years old, I started representing Scotland under 13s. And then I played under 13s, 15s, 17s, 19s, under 19 World Cup. I played in 2002 in New Zealand, which was a great honour for me. And also when I was 17 years old, I signed my first professional cricket contract where I was based at Lord's Cricket Ground in London as an MCC young cricketer. That is where I met and was a teammate of the great Darren Sammy, Ross Taylor. They were both teammates of mine. We'd all come fresh from playing in the Under-19 World Cup. And they were not big stars then. They were just normal guys. And they remained like that. I'm friends with both of them till this day. So, it just shows you, no matter how big a star you become, you should always remain humble. I'm a firm believer of that. But yes, from there I went on to debut for the national team, Cricket Scotland team. I played in the 2007 World Cup, T20 World Cup, where all Pakistani fans will remember with heartbreak, where Misbah Haq almost had us over the line against India in the final. Unfortunately, we fell just short. But I played in that. As well as that, I played first-class cricket in Pakistan. I came out to play for Pakistani Customs around 2009. I was told when I arrived in Pakistan that Qasim Sheikh, you can't play here because when you bat, your front foot makes a kenchi, which for your English listeners means that I made a scissor type shape with my leg when I batted. So the night before I was debuting against Sui Gas, I was told by the coaches that we really think you're going to struggle here. I said, please, just give me a chance. Let's see what happens. I played the next day against Sui Gas and I made 100 on debut. So for a boy to come from Scotland, people kept saying, yeah, the boy is from London. I kept reminding them, no, I'm not from London. I am from Scotland. And please refer to me as Scottish Pakistani, because I'm very, England is England, Scotland is Scotland. That's like saying a Pakistani player, oh, he's from India. That wouldn't work. So same applied for me. I'm very proud of my roots as Scottish. But yes, the love of the game came from Pakistan, and I've always had a great connection with Pakistani cricket, the highs and the lows. But hopefully that gives you a little bit of an insight to my career. I've played all over the world, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, Canada, Bermuda, Ireland, Holland, all over the world, which is a great privilege that I will never forget that I've had as a cricketer.
Well, it's like that funny Scottish proverb, failing means you're playing. So I think that's what's happening when you were playing for SNGPL as well, Qasim. But I understand that terminology because all my life I've been told about this Kenchi as well. But I'm still scoring runs, although I'm not an international cricketer. So I think sometimes, you are what you are and it really makes a difference. But a bit about the youth structure in Scotland right now, because Qasim, we've seen a great improvement. We've just seen them in ICC tournaments now as well. We're seeing some particular names that are being highlighted for Cricket Scotland as well, and there's a good youth bulge even on the women's side in under-19. So how would you rate that structure of cricket in Scotland?
Look, it's an ongoing process, but you're absolutely correct. It is going in very much so in the right direction. If you look at the recent World Cup, T20 World Cup that we took part in. I was actually commentating the Scotland games during that World Cup. We played against England in the first game. It was a rain-reduced match, and we went out and we scored 100 off our 10 overs. We didn't lose a wicket. And if it wasn't for the rain, it could have been a very interesting match against England. We beat England as well in 2018 in our home soil in a 50-over game. So these are signs that Scottish cricket is going in the right direction. We then beat Oman in our second match, and we played Australia in the final game. And we were in the match all the way till the final stages. In fact, we were looking like favourites going into the last 5 overs of Australia's chase, that we were going to win that match. But Australia had a lot of firepower in their batting lineup towards the lower order, and that got them over the line. You mentioned the women's team. They just took part in their first Women's World Cup, which was a great moment for Scottish cricket and amazing for the women's team. They have some really, really good players. One girl in particular who I'm very close friends with, Abtaha Maqsood. She, mashallah, wears the hijab when she plays. She recently played in the 100 competition in England. She's a leg spinner. And then there's 2 Bryce sisters, Catherine and Sarah, both very good cricketers, both play in the professional structure in England. And we're hoping that more and more of our players enter the professional structure, which will only benefit the team moving forward. The under-19 team are also on their way to an under-19 World Cup, the girls team. So yes, Scottish cricket is very much, going in the right direction. We can't change things like the weather, unfortunately. The weather sometimes makes things difficult. We spend a lot of time indoors training during the winter months, but we do our best. And I think if it continues to go the way it's going, Scottish cricket, Cricket Scotland has a bright future.
Well, Qasim, one thing's very particular now has been the evolution of cricket in the past couple of years. There's much more focus on the limited overs format, and a lot of these young lads probably, prime themselves to playing that form of cricket as well. But somewhere down the line, you still have to be technically sound to ace all formats, and that's what some of the youngsters might miss as well. Now, your career trajectory obviously is an experienced one as well, and now you're seeing this evolution yourself as a commentator and a presenter. How would you define this evolution, and what are we seeing in modern day cricket now?
I completely agree with you on this point. You're spot on. Too much emphasis is being put on the shorter format. Look, I understand why, because there's so much money involved in the shorter format of the game. You can play in so many different leagues. It's very colourful. But I do think it's had a negative impact on the best format of cricket, in my opinion, still the purest format of cricket, which is Test cricket, first-class cricket. I think first-class cricket around the world has suffered. I don't think the structures are as strong as they used to be, and this includes the UK. And for me, if you can become a good, solid first-class cricketer and Test cricketer, all the other formats will take care of themselves. Technique, you're tested the most in the longer format of the game. And my hope is that this is not killed, because I feel like Test cricket is, look at the series we just seen between India and Australia. The fire and it was like a battle on the field. And you can't get that in one day in T20 cricket. Look, it's good cricket to watch, but Test cricket is golden. A Pakistan-South Africa series, the first Test match had everybody on the edge of their seats all the way till the end of that Test match. Unfortunately, we didn't get the win, although I thought we should have won the first Test match. But for me, the golden cricket and the purest format of cricket is still the longer format of the game.
Well, it certainly is. And Qasim, stay with us, because of course we're now going to continue on the West Indies tour to Pakistan. But Malik Usman Ahmed, when we analyze this tour, a lot of people obviously would say that the World Test Championship hopes are over now for Pakistan. They've had a pretty hard series against South Africa. But now what's on the line is that whoever loses this series between West Indies and Pakistan is going to finish last on the points table. So, still that would be pretty embarrassing.
It's about the egos, isn't it? Before the beginning of this calendar, we used to think that who will qualify for the finals, and that is the pride that was all about. But now the pride is that you shouldn't be finishing last. Pakistan, I think they are very, very confused. This cycle is over now, whether they finish second last or third last. But I think they are very, very confused how they want to develop their test team. They're not so sure whether they need to have true pitches, they want to have spin pitches, how they are going to go with their batting format. Once they were called that Pakistan way of batting, that they wanted to play very aggressively, that just did not materialize. Then they wanted to have true pitches. and they wanted to do well in SENA countries. That just did not materialize, and then suddenly you had those dryers and then those fans out to have dry pitches so that you could beat England, and then you go out to South Africa and lose 2-0. You lost 3-0 to England as well. I think Pakistan has has a long term goal. It's not just about playing against the West Indies. They may get those drier pitches out and may beat West Indies. I think it's not a walk in the park certainly, but they have a long road going forward to raise their level in the test cricket. I think Pakistan is struggling so far, and that is going to be their biggest problem. As far as immediate goals are concerned, I think Pakistan has a far stronger side than the West Indies, but I think if simply you are relying on the pitches that it is going to spin square and you're going to smash West Indies just like what you did to England in the second and third test, I think that will not happen. They have some good, very good spinners with the likes of Moti. He is going to join, and I think a left arm spinner is always troubling Pakistan, whether it's a right hander or a left hander. And Pakistan, for their concern, I think they need to convert those 20-30s into big ones. I think test cricket is not all about 30-40s or 50s, it is more about hundreds.
Well, certainly, and I think the irony is that, you know, Pakistan's next test match after this is going to be probably after 14 months. So, I mean, it's just ironic the way things are going to move forward from there onwards as well. And then the number of test matches we're playing is already embarrassing. 7 to 10 on average is just something that I think is disappointing for Pakistan. But Asif, obviously now, if we want to put something into the series, then like I said, whoever loses finishes last. So maybe, you know, we can step up our A game.
Well, Ahmed, the problem is that we're not fixing the issues, and we do not know that who will be the Pakistan skipper in the next series. And starting this problem when Babar Azam resigned and we brought Shan Masood, and we didn't have any sort of planning. That was a short-term decision, and Pakistan is not persistent even taking decisions. Either it's regarding the coaching staff or the skipper. Now we have a big problem that we don't know that who will be the opening pair with Shan Masood or Imamul Haq, because there's a question about Saim Ayub is not fit. Had he been fit there, we didn't ask this question. Of course, that Saim is our first priority and first choice now. Then the way Usman Bhai was saying about Pankha stuff, you know, drying the pitches, bringing fans over the surface and just giving the tough time to the English batters. You can't do this all the time. Though you have very top-notch spinners like Sajid and Noman. We didn't test Noman in South Africa. That was a bad decision. That was a bad choice from Aqib Javed. What's going on in his mind? Because, you know, he is a big boss. He's big fish nowadays in Pakistan cricket, Aqib Javed. He's taking all the decisions. But I have problem in our middle order batting as well. Kamran Ghulam, he got a chance. I don't want to make criticism over him because, you know, this is his third series. He was okay in South Africa. He was not brilliant. I was expecting something extraordinary from him. But once again, the question is that who will be the opening batter for Pakistan? Imamul Haq, he's in number 3 in domestic season last year. In this year, I beg your pardon. And same with some other batters. Where is Huraira? I have asked this question to Shan Masood. Now you're on that edge that you'll bring him because you do not have more options.
Absolutely,
So,
but I think how successful it can be cannot be rated because 2 test matches only, and then like I said, a long distance when Pakistan plays their next test campaign as well. Qasim, how would you highlight the importance of this series? Now West Indies is coming to Pakistan. Obviously, we become the favourites in our home conditions, but once again, I think whatever was being talked about 10 years back the line, it's still the same, that our focus on test cricket just seems to be a miss.
Look, I agree with some of the points that have been made there. First and foremost, I was very disappointed to see that Noman Ali didn't play, especially in that second test match at Newlands, Cape Town. I have played at Newlands. They should have had a spinner playing in that game, especially 2 guys, Sajid Khan and Noman Ali, who literally just single-handedly won Pakistan the previous series in Pakistan against England. You know, I watched Sajid Khan bowling at the Quaid-e-Azam Trophy final. It was great to see him in person, but I was feeling like, you know, I would have liked to have seen Sajid Khan out in South Africa. So these things are important decisions that need to be made. That, you know, you should. I keep making this point. Nathan Lyon, when do you ever see him not bowling for Australia? It doesn't matter where they go in the world. He's always in the team. So we need to always have a frontline spinner. Pakistan's strength And the talent that they possess has always been so strong in the fast bowling and spin bowling department, if you look at historically. So I think we need to back our spinners a little bit more, let them play in other conditions around the world, not just in Pakistan. You know, even if the ball is not turning that much, these guys, Noman Ali, Sajid Khan, these are experienced campaigners who I think can exploit conditions in other parts of the world as well. The batting lineup, look, I think Pakistan is blessed with talent. There's no doubt about the talent that Pakistan possesses. We have always had phenomenal talent. It's how it's managed and how it's used. Using batters in the right positions where they've been successful in first-class cricket. If you're going to bring them into the national team, they should play in those positions as well. If you're bringing people in and batting them in alien positions to them, then it may have a negative impact. So I think these kind of things are things that management need to be looking at, need to be, you know, making sure that they are doing their homework, doing their research of where players are successful in their first-class competitions and bring them in accordingly. This current upcoming series, I think, is a really interesting one between Pakistan and West Indies. I think Pakistan and West Indies are both quite similar countries in some ways. They have such flair, they have such natural talent, both countries. But I think that both countries are in a bit of a similar position at the moment. Neither, you know, Pakistan probably slightly ahead of West Indies, but West Indies have been building their team as well. They've been working really hard the last couple of years to start to mould a good test team. After losing a lot of their players, they have regrouped and they look to be getting quite a settled team. So this is not going to be an easy series, but I think it's an opportunity for Pakistan to bleed some young talent. You know, we know Sam Ayub is unfortunately heartbreaking as it was to see. Inshallah, he will be fit for the Champions Trophy, but we know he's not in the team. So there's a chance to bring somebody else into the team, give somebody else a chance. And I hope to see a few other youngsters brought into the team as well, because these are the kind of series now. It's a dead ringer, as they would call it. They're not playing for a final slot in the World Test Championship. So it's an opportunity to try some other players out who may take to Test cricket and build for the future.
Well, certainly, and I do believe, I think that's the right case forward as well. Very quickly, Asif, two more developments from the PCB. One is that the Tri-Series has now been moved to Lahore and Karachi, and also the new schedule of domestic has also been released.
Well, I slightly highlight that the good thing is the good amount of youth cricket. That is really, really important. That and especially when you're including 3-day cricket and just promoting this culture, that the 3-day, 4-day cricket is really, really important, as Qasim was discussing about Scotland cricket as well. But I think if you see the Tri-Nation series, really important series right before the Champions Trophy, and Pakistan will have a chance to go into that and then try some new talent. Just you know, just don't focus that what Babar Azam and the other Premier players are doing. Just give some chances to the other players as well. And into Karachi, I think that's fine, because in Multan, in those days, you can't expect that kind of weather. So so that's why I think Pakistan Cricket has taken that decision. Otherwise, of course, Pakistan Cricket Board is doing something extraordinary for the youth and for the promotion of youth cricket as well.
Well, certainly. Asif, thank you very much for joining us for our segment of cricket. And Qasim Sheikh, thank you very much for being on the show and joining us for our segment of cricket. It was lovely having you, an honour having you on the show as well. And as they say in Scotland as well, I must say that on a concluding note, that long may your lum reek, mate, as well. So thank you very much, Qasim, for joining us. Right, of course, now we move on to football, and very particular, we're going to hang on to Malik Usman and also add another guest. It's the Carabao Cup as well, where the first legs of the semi-finals have been completed. Arsenal got a thrashing against Newcastle, so we're going to be talking about that as well. And elsewhere, Tottenham had the better of Liverpool. So, I mean, two results that are very astonishing themselves as well. So, we'll of course discuss them further. In studios now joining us is sports expert Ali Mehdi. Assalamu alaikum, Ali. How are you?
Walaikum salam. I'm very well.
Well, you're wearing red, but for the wrong reasons today. Both Liverpool and
I was
Arsenal.
also wearing white. I was also wearing white.
Absolutely. So we'll signify that white today. But Ali Mehdi, how did you find both these games, particularly Newcastle first?
Well, first, if you talk about Newcastle, I thought Newcastle were brilliant on the night. You know, this is a team which has been on an upswing for a while. They've got one of the best informed strikers in the world, in the form of Alexander Isak, who's scoring goals for fun. He's scoring the Premier League every single week. And I know that Usman Bhai over here will know that in fantasy Premier League is getting a load of points. But he's been absolutely phenomenal and he carried that form into this League Cup. So he did very well. And then Newcastle's second in form player, Anthony Gordon, the Evertonian, who used to play for Everton. He came and he's been brilliant for Newcastle. So Newcastle, I thought going into this game that they were the wild cards over here and they would actually win this, and that's exactly what they did. They went over there and despite not having much possession, they converted their chances. It's not like they missed. I mean, Arsenal had a better chance of scoring goals. Their XG was better, but the thing is that Newcastle on the night were absolutely brilliant. They made sure that they converted it. Now 2-0 going into the second leg at over there at St. James Park. I can't see Arsenal, ending this drought of the Carabao Cup. They haven't won this cup since 1993. So I actually think that Newcastle are probably going to try to make the second Carabao Cup final in the second time in 3 years, when last time when they lost to the champions in 2023 in the form of Manchester United.
Well, certainly. How did you define this game, Usman? How interesting was it?
I think we shouldn't be surprised by the result. Off late, Newcastle has been gaining form. They had some injuries to their key players in the beginning of the season, and once those senior players and experienced and good players have been coming back, their final third has been probably the best in Premier League. Only Liverpool, I think they can compete with them, and they have a very good trio of Murphy, then Gordon and Isak. And Isak returning from injury has been phenomenal. He is the best centre forward in Premier League right now. Haaland fans might disagree with me, but I think it's very, very clear that who is the best striker in Premier League right now. And I think beating Arsenal at the Emirates is a huge result for Newcastle, but I can assure you this is not surprising by any means. I think we would have agreed if someone would have told us that Newcastle might win this game. And I think off late they have been very, very clinical. They don't miss chances. Look what they did to Manchester United. They just rubbed them off. They just smashed Manchester United. I think they were very lucky to have a scoreline that it had been. I think they could have won with a huge margin. And against Arsenal too, I thought it was a very, very 50-50 game. The only advantage Arsenal might have had was the home game. But one advantage that Newcastle had was Arsenal don't usually win titles. So it was a very pretty even Steven games. And I think with the 2-0 margin and taking the 2-0 lead to home, I think they will be firm favourites in the second leg. And I will not be surprised, mind you, I will not be surprised if Liverpool doesn't qualify. Newcastle has a very serious chance of winning the CFL.
Well, he's called it Newcastle. Ali Mehdi, how are you going with this final now?
No, I'm actually hopeful that there will be more misery will be put on Newcastle, because Arsenal will be actually licking their wounds, and hopefully that form will continue on Sunday when Manchester United, the current FA Cup holders, actually visit Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium. So, they're still very disappointed. Arteta coming up with some useless and lame excuses that the ball was and the trajectory wasn't right. I mean, look, you're playing professional football. You should be playing with all sorts of footballs. This fact that, you're not this comfortable with the Puma ball makes absolutely no sense. So I actually think that Newcastle over here they have psychological advantage. They are playing very good football. They actually completely wiped out Arsenal over there, and they were very clinical. So I see them winning over there, and I actually think that Arsenal are going to have a very difficult week going forward.
Also, Ali Mehdi, we can talk about the clean sheets that Newcastle is keeping off late. Nobody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about Isak. I think it is all about the clean sheets as well. Hall has been phenomenal. Botman has been superb.
Dubravka.
And the goalkeeper, absolutely smashing since he has come to the side. I think all in all, this team is gelling really well, and they look like a side that can qualify actually for the Champions League also.
Absolutely. But I think you've made some very particular comments about Arsenal that are being eyed by Rizwan Haider wherever he is at the moment. So I think they're going to be very particular. But thank you very much, Usman and Ali Mehdi, for joining us. That wraps up Sports Extra. From me and the entire team, it's goodbye for now.